I'm Joe Wern, and I'm the host of Little Tree Acoustic House Concerts, and this is the intro for the final show in this very weird year, this 2020 season, where all the concerts have been online. And the performer is Mitch Barrett, who was the very first performer we had, and I find myself in this lovely space being present to and thinking about what we created together and all the kind of accidental intentions that blossomed. And so I'm going to describe that for you as I tell you about Mitch Barrett. So first, Mitch Barrett is an award-winning singer-songwriter, and the awards he's won are prestigious and sought after. There are 5 that I know about, and they're all the big songwriting competitions. And curiously, he didn't make submissions to any of those. It was his agent, Brenda Barkley, who would send his songs in, and then he would respond by going and showing up and then winning. So Kerrville New Folk is on that list. Rocky Mountain Folks Festival here is one. Merle Fest, Chris Austin, he's the only person who's won that twice. And then, what am I forgetting? Kerrville, Telluride. Telluride Troubadour Competition is what he won just before that first show, and it's the reason we had the first concert here. He called me up and said, "Joe, can you help me find a place where I can do a show and pay for this rental car?" He drove from Kentucky, and so he drove out to Telluride and collected the competition, #1 spot, and then came here and did that very first show. And I didn't really know what I was getting into. I made a commitment to hosting a series without ever having been to a concert before, and the reason is I have a musical family and a very musical brother who I've strained to listen to in bars and restaurants, places that are not designed for listening. And I realized I had an opportunity to create a listening space where authentic connection with pin drop silence and really precious moments could happen. Like sometimes would happen with my brother in a place where then you hear dishes clatter or people responding to a big screen TV with a football game. Get rid of all of that stuff and have that moment of deep connection. And at the end of that evening, I remember sitting around with Mitch and saying, "You can sleep here. I have this spare bedroom." And he said, "Nah, I got all this adrenaline. It's good to get on the road. I got to drive back to Kentucky." And so even though he claimed he needed to get rolling, he didn't leave for a few hours. We passed juggling pins in the backyard. I didn't know he was also a juggler. We made that discovery and drank whiskey and just had this revelry. And I confessed to him that night, "I feel so good and I don't know why." And he was the first one who said, "Well, it's authentic connection, that's what's happening." And that really set the tone for what would happen for the next 12 years. It's not just great performers who write insightful lyrics and give you a musical experience, but connection with the audience is what I've looked for. And it's a little weird this year because we're doing it all through screens. And, I tell the musicians, you got to laugh at your own jokes, otherwise they're going to bomb. It's a strange year. But it's an important year to show up for our artists now more than ever because, back in March, people were looking at all their gigs canceled, all their income stream going away. And it's increasingly becoming the case that live performers, they depend almost exclusively on that for their income because live streaming doesn't pay them a penny. Seriously, maybe a penny. And CD sales, now cars don't have CD players in them. It's increasingly getting backed in the corner of you need that live performance in order to pay your bills. And now they all went away. So happy that people showed up this year and keep showing up to put money in the pockets of musicians. Because we can use words like "we support the arts," which is a strange combination of words. We don't say it about anything else. We don't come back from the grocery store and say, "I support laundry detergent," And I don't think you really get to say you support the arts unless you pay more than the asking price. And otherwise, you're just making a business deal, which is fine, but don't confuse yourself. And people are really supporting the arts with Little Tree this year. People are ponying up and paying more than the asking price. And I'm so gratified that you're doing that with me. So thank you. So that was one of the intentions that Mitch set, that he didn't know he was setting with that first show, is to be authentic. And he really embodies that. And it's just so delightful for me to think about all the examples in our friendship where he's guided me away from that hyper-rational space that I spend most of my time as a working research scientist to the authentic human connection and being present and celebrating that part of that confessional part that I've seen over and over again when the musicians take the stage and just speak the truth, sometimes about things that we normally would hide and not talk about. So thank you all for doing that with me. All the concerts are, I have promises to the audience. And so since this is the intro, I'm going to make those promises to you. One is it's always about the music, and this is a very musical performer. That one's satisfied. It's always awesome, and that's true here. And every penny you donate goes in his pocket, and that means that even the PayPal fees, we use PayPal service to make it easier. The concert series pays that. That doesn't come out of his pocket, so your intention is satisfied. And sometimes people help out with that when they tip the series, they add a little more. That's what I use those tips for. And if I end up on some nights with more money than I need, I just put it back in the artist's pocket, because that's what we're here for, is really to support the arts. It's not a money-making endeavor for me or the series. I have other ways to make money. I don't need the series for that. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is our traditions. So one tradition you're looking at behind me, everybody who plays here signs the concert poster. The very first signature is right there, and that had to be Photoshop lifted from what served that first night. That's Mitch Barrett's from 2009. He wrote, "People have more fun than anybody." And it's lovely to sit at the poster and see what people wrote and remember those nights as they happened. And there's 2 posters like this, and now we need a third one because we've had so many. So that's one tradition. Another tradition is we always have rum cake. These traditions happened because my brother said, when I told him I was committing to a series, well, you should think about your traditions. You should think about those things you can say you've done from the very first show. And rum cake's totally an accident. It's a lovely accident. We had it at the first show. Some audience member said, "That rum cake was good. Are you going to have it at the second show?" And then by now I've made over 200 rum cakes, So that's fun. And then the third tradition is I always read the first sentence from the Education of Little Tree. And it goes like this. It's written from the perspective of a 5-year-old Cherokee Indian boy. And Little Tree says, "Grandma says when you come on something good, first thing to do is share it with whoever you can find. That way the good spreads out to where no telling it will go," which is right. So you get some sense of what a house concert is, not the real thing. And I'm looking forward to the real thing when we gather together in the living room or the backyard with a sense of community and people coming together. And I know we'll get there. We'll get there again soon. Some point probably in next year, we'll be gathering again. But until then, we're supporting the artists the best way we can. Thank you for participating in that. Share this with friends and invite them, and come be a part of supporting the arts with Little Tree.